Hey guys, Fred Kynes here, All Kinds of Classics. Today is the day for episode 38. Episode 38 is finally finishing this fuel tank and getting it mounted up. So enjoy this video. This is the last element of getting the fuel tank put in and moving on and starting to just talking about what the next steps are. Probably gonna focus a little bit on how the wiring is gonna work, and then get held up because I need to get the body on. So this one's a good one.
Well, I farted around this morning. Got the other axle installed. And you can see that I clocked I flipped the plate over and clocked it down. It's hard to see. I'm going to be upside down here. That's one leg. That's the other leg that mounts. That is the mount for the caliper mount. So you got multiple positions, 2 positions here. Then you can flip it over, that one, and the same thing all the way around the disc. And I clocked it. I attached the brake cable. I'm going to lose this mounting, but I can arrive at another mounting and not have any stress in it. And that's the ultimate thing, right, is to get it in there. I don't like the fact that the brake line is kind of hanging in the wind down there, but I mean, what are you going to do? Well, the big plate on it. So that stud and that stud will become pieces that I can probably grind off and dress and paint. I don't know yet. But anyway, so I originally was clocked in the, let's just call that the 9 o'clock position. It was up in the 10 o'clock, 10:30 position, and I'm moving it down to the 7:30 or 8 o'clock position. Okay, so that will for sure, it's more than the suspension travel up. So I'll never hit the frame. And arguably, you always got to frame a reference, right? You're trying to do something. In this case, I was trying to save the hose. You speculate. I welded that onto there. Now that could be longer, provide me more holes, all that stuff. But in the end, I want it to look professional. And so I think that keeping that as close as possible to the axle. And if I mount it here, I'm going to pull this, it will ride close to the axle. It will not rub on the spring. You can see I've got a good 2 inches. So, yeah, I'll probably test a spring on there before I speculate too much. I'll test a spring on here before I go jumping on the other side. So, but anyway, time for me to go to work. Had to move a bunch of snow today. And so I didn't have a whole bunch of time to dedicate to this. Goodly doodly morning, folks. Today is Thursday. And I had a small day. Or a small morning. But I did get over to there. So that matches the other side. I fabricated a couple of longer clamps. Use the same red or orange or whatever rubber bushing in the clamps. And trode them on at an angle, lengthened them out. They do pull. It's a heavier gauge stainless, but they pull that and keep it out of the way of the shocks. And I still have plenty of floppy like I wanted. And again, this is all part of the rigid assembly. Nothing here has to flex, but it does allow me to take my caliper off, right? Without disconnecting the brake line. So I'm happy with that. And then I went and step drilled holes into here, into each one of these, to go get out of the low spot, the tray, so that I can route the vent line, grabbing it here, like that, and it will be above the tank, and yet not in the tank, but above the tank, and then it'll run over to the fill here. So be very conscious of where it enters the fill. I want to make sure that I'm entering high, right? As high as I can get it, so long as I'm above the tank. So, there you have it. That's what I got done today. Takes a little bit of time to do all that cutting and slotting. And you can see the line comes in, and then it just slightly turns to intersect with here. I wanted to be below those screws, but I wanted to be at a decent valley, a decent valley, so that I could turn in, have enough holes to turn into the tube. And of course I can clock the nipple on the tube and all that stuff when I weld it in. So I got a nice shot at it. So, and again, the tube is tilted back a little bit, and so got a lot of angles to deal with. But I mocked that up and drew it. Maybe you saw that in a prior video. I overlaid it when the tank was in. So they got that done. The water tested tank is in the garage and drying out, and that'll be the next little project. And hopefully maybe tomorrow morning I can get that tank bolted in and mocked up and start. Tomorrow actually I believe the cap comes too, so I can start chuck that up in the lathe, polish it, cut it to size, and open up the ID for that. So yeah, it's we're getting there. We're getting close. So I did have one thing that I thought, wait, how big is that hole? Because the OD of the filler cap is 1.75 inches. The filler cap itself is larger, but you pull the filler cap off, and that's 2 inches. So no, that's 3 inches. I don't have a tape measure. It's over 2 inches, and whew, so then you can get the tank in and have, wrestle it and all that stuff by putting it up in there. So that is working, coming along. It's the piddly shit toward the end of the frame, but then once the tank is in, route the gas lines, and I can even pull my wiring if I know what all the devices I'm going to have under the floor in the chassis, right? My power lines. So, so close to taking the engine back behind the welder, putting them in, and starting to drop that down and get the tranny tunnel made. Then we'll be back on the body. So, have a good one. Hey, folks. So I got the tank back in. I opened up the hole for the fill tube. I took that piece of stainless steel. I'm sorry, I taped it off, but it was that piece of pipe. I turned the inside to fit the fitting. After looking at all this, I could have just simply made this fitting myself. I could have cut those threads inside of this, but this flange is bigger, and this has a vent, a purchased bolt, and then just a machine piece of aluminum. It's just a cap, and that screws onto there. So what I'm going to do now is I got to get this piece TIG welded onto there. On the inside, see the hole? I drilled and tapped that hole for that. This will sit in here. The hole will get clocked, and that hose will run through there to the vent. And you can see that it is the highest point on the tank. So, technically that corner is, but I can't get into that corner, but I am higher. The hose is higher than that corner. So, that's about it for the day. Of course, it takes a little while to machine, but that's all I've gotten accomplished. So, thanks. Go ahead. At least I tried. Oof, duh. Anyway, that was a stub in my practice piece, and I got a ways to go in TIGging, especially stainless, 2 material thicknesses. So needless to say, I tacked, intact. That's even a little big. So it looks like early in the morning or the next morning. My buddy said he'll finish it up for me. That'll be done. Then everything's done. I've tested everything. We did the gallon test. We're about there. We're about there. So happy with it. Get it back, clean it all up, and then mount it in. I am just chomping at the bit, but we're going out of town tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. We're going to be gone for the day, so I'm not going to be able to get any significant things done. Maybe come in the morning before we take off tomorrow morning. But Sunday is when either tomorrow morning he'll weld that, or Sunday morning he'll weld it. And then, of course, Sunday afternoon I can get in here and, really want to get the engine back in it, and start working on the trans tunnel. You know how that goes. Anyway, we'll get that in, monkey around. I got to get some weather pack wire connectors and maybe get that portion of the harness. I don't know if I'm going to go up through the body. Probably not, because there isn't a good wire chase come down through the frame. And I got that one on that side, that relief there, and the same thing on this side here. You can come up. Oh, actually on this side I've got one right here. So I'll probably come out there, and then I'll come up somewhere into the side here, and it'll be behind the rocker, or behind the panel in here. So kick panel. So and that's a good place to start that wiring. Then I can chase up the cowl, right? And of course, the fuel pump is going to be controlled by the computer, right? Yeah, fuel pump switches on the computer. The sending unit's going to be on there, and then I'm just going to have my tail lights, right? My reverse and tail brake, stop, turn. No trailer hitches, and I'll think it through. But everything else will run in the interior across up this post and across the header. For the back, for lights and whatever, sound, any of that stuff. So at this point, I think I could probably chase up the wires. I don't know what I have for colors. I've got several spools, but I'd kind of like to match the factory colors on the computer module. Makes things so much easier. The original Dodge colors on the engine control module for that piece, and then the rest of it, of course, I can start my wiring diagram on. So that's what I've gotten so far. That's what I've gotten so far today. Until next time, though, and thank you. Thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Well, we got back into it today, and I got the bung welded on, TIG welded on, cleaned up, tops welded on. Remember, it's a vented cap, if you recall from the last video. Little hole in the top, screen vent in the bottom, tapped, 1/4 inch ID hose, 1/2 inch OD, fuel rated hose. This will go into that channel. This will sit into that channel that I cut into the frame. Mounted the fuel pump mounted the sending unit, and basically cleaned up the edges and especially the show edges. So she shines a little bit. It obviously needs to be wiped down and all that stuff, but that's all. Right now it's ready for mounting. So we'll go ahead and get her all mounted up and into the chassis and move right along. So I think I'm going to get some of the wiring, the taillight wiring. Back of this car is, your taillight basics, blinker, brake, taillight reverse, right? And then I got sending unit and a heavier lead for the fuel pump, and of course my ground connections. So we'll get into that after I get the tank in. It's looking pretty good though. All right, we got a little bit of a sneak preview here. Got bigs and littles, 25s there and 27s there. Got a little snow on him. Anyway, I yanked him off of the trailer. I had one of these 25-inch tires in the shop. Of course, the trailers are all 5 on 4.5 or a Ford bolt pattern. So now I can get a look at big and little. It'd be nice if they were all 27 because that's my spec size, but because then I could adjust my caster, double check everything. But of course, even with the 25s, I can get in my caster damn close. But I can check, right? I can check for similarities between the sides. I can get my toe, string line toe it, all that stuff. So at this point, I'm still going to finish the wiring, but I had to do some other work out, move some snow with the loader. So I dug out the trailer and got these wheels and tires out because I want to get this chassis off the ground. Again, I'm running the wiring loom from the rear forward, so I got to go and get the wire. It's up there. I have to pull all my rolls down, and hopefully I have all the colors that I need. Woohoo!